Hey guys, this is Patrick from Ironman Outdoors. I just got home from 6 days boots on the ground in Honeypath, South Carolina, which is the upstate of South Carolina that got devastated by Hurricane Helene. And I just wanted to give you a quick update on what I saw when I was there, because I think a lot of it is very interesting, and I think other folks in different parts of the country kind of want to know what's going on. First of all, let me say I was in upstate South Carolina. I was not in North Carolina. And certainly our thoughts and prayers go out to the folks around Asheville and Western North Carolina because they're dealing with a flood. What we were dealing with here in South Carolina is giant trees on people's homes, on people's cars, on churches, and most importantly, on the power lines. Still a lot of folks that do not have power in the northwestern part of South Carolina. This is now what, day 10, and some of those folks have not had power or water since the storm hit. So it's still a very tough situation. We were able to over the course of 6 days, we were able to take 40 volunteers associated with our ministry and take a chainsaw team. They weren't all there at the same time. Okay, we had different men come in. Some got here and then left, and they came in waves. And I just tried to do my best to coordinate all of that. But I do have a few slides I want to share with you, so I'll see if I can get that going. We had at our peak during the 6 days, like I said, we had 40 total volunteers. We stayed at a Christian camp called the River Oaks Retreat Center. Wonderful guy. Chris is the director there. They opened up their doors to us and were nothing but extremely hospitable and generous to us, letting us stay there. We had, over the course of the 6 days, we had 2 skid steers, 2 tractors, and 2 mini excavators that showed up to help. And you can get a lot of work done when you have that kind of equipment. Just wanted to share a couple of quick stories with you. If you're seeing the screen right now, that's I believe she was 86 years old. That's a widow named Miss Jean. Just a delight to be around. We were able to cut a giant tree out of her yard, and just she's just one of those people, kind of like my grandmother was this way, that when you were around her, you felt better about yourself because she's so encouraging and was just a blessing to our whole team. Let me see if I can advance the slide here. We had a lot of men. The trees that we were cutting down were giant. Some of them, our saws weren't even big enough to handle, but we got good work done for a lot of different people. I estimate that we helped about 30 different families through the course of those 6 days. Some of them only took an hour. Some of them took 4, 5, 6 hours because they had so many trees down. But our volunteers, they worked so hard, and we had really, really good time doing it. There was one particular widow that tried to pay us money, and we said, no, we're not going to take your money. And she said she was going to give us $50, and she was not taking no for an answer. So she gave one of my volunteers, she had $50 in cash, and she handed it to him, and he acted like he put it in his pocket. And I believe this lady was 88 years old. Well, anyway, when she turned around, her nephew was there too. When she turned around and started walking over towards the house, our volunteer took the $50 and gave it to the nephew. And he said, don't worry, I'll put it back in her purse and she won't even remember. So that was a funny story that happened. We did have a lot of volunteers. We cut trees off of 3 different cars that were impacted. It had trees on top of them. And one particular that I remember was a John Deere tractor. We had a widow, and she was very emotional about everything. Obviously, she's been through a lot. She did not know how. She couldn't even get out of her driveway. She had a tree draped across her driveway. She had a tree very close to her house. We were able to cut up all of that. And this one particular widow, she said, I know you all are busy, and I know there's a lot of people that need help. But if there's any way that you could get the tree off of my husband's John Deere tractor, her late husband, that was his pride and joy, and it meant a lot to her. So we were able to get that tree off of that tractor. This particular picture you're looking at here in the bottom right, the guy in the center there, his name's Quinton. And I knocked on Quinton's door, and Quinton didn't quite believe me. Like, I had to tell him 3 times that we're not asking for money. We're not asking for a donation. We won't take any of your money. We don't want that. We just want to be a blessing to you, and we're doing it for the Lord. And he kind of gave me that look like, really? Yeah. So finally, after the third time, Quinton agreed to let us clean up his front yard. And he had a giant tree. You can see the guys are actually climbed up on the stump of the tree. That's how big that tree was. He had a mess in his yard, but we were a blessing, I think, to Quinton and I think Miss Deborah. We helped a lot of single moms, which was a great thing to do. A lot of ladies came to the door when we knocked on the door. I don't know if that's a statement about the trouble that we are with men in our society. I don't know if the women are the homeowners. I suspect perhaps they are, but we helped a lot of single mothers. We did have a couple that we helped in a mobile home. The husband actually told me that he had prayed the night before to the Lord that God would send some help because he did not know how they were going to get these trees out of their yard. Well, that just so happened, 8 o'clock the next morning, I'm driving down the road. I'm going to an address that a pastor had given me. And as I was on my way down the road, I look to the left and I see the devastation in their yard. And I see him sitting up on the little front porch of the mobile home. And I said, I just feel like I need to stop. And later, actually, it was the next day that we came back and helped him Saturday morning. But he told me, he said, I think you answered my prayers to God, because I wasn't planning on going there. But he had prayed to God the night before, and the next morning we were there, which is really a God thing. We were able to take wonderful dude named Larry showed up from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Great guy. He showed up with a really nice mini excavator, and he worked that thing like a magician. I mean, he was able to pull trees off of stuff. This is the Dry Oak Assembly of God. We were able to take a tree off of the church fellowship hall. Some of the church members had gone up there and put up a tarp to try to keep the rainwater out. But thankfully, we were able to get there just in a few days of the storm and take. We actually did that. I believe it was Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday afternoon. We pulled that off of the church fellowship hall, so that was a blessing too. Everywhere we went, we represented Christ. Okay, so when you show up and you knock on somebody's door and you say, "Hey, see all these guys right here? They want to help clean up your yard." Why? Because they love Jesus Christ. And because we love Jesus Christ, we love our neighbors. And today, you're our neighbor. That kind of leaves an impression with folks. So before we left every single yard, we would circle up with the homeowner and we would say a prayer for them and with them. We actually had one lady who was a widow that we helped giant trees down in her yard. We prayed for her, and then she stopped us and said, "All right, now y'all bow your heads. I'm going to pray for y'all." So she prayed for our team also, which was a really cool thing. I got to help a young couple that was getting ready actually to go. The morning we showed up to help, they were there, but they had to leave because they were going to get an ultrasound for their first child, very first ultrasound, to see if the baby was good. And when they came back, everything was good with the baby. So we all celebrated and rejoiced with them as a team. Helped another guy in his yard. He told me that they had a 2-week-old baby, a little girl. I asked him, did he name her Helene? And he did not, but they had not had air conditioning or electricity for the first couple weeks of this child's life. They have not had any electricity. So a lot of folks are going through some difficult things. I know North Carolina, rightfully so, they have gotten a lot of attention, but there's a lot of people hurting in that northwestern corner of South Carolina as well. And we need to keep them in our prayers. I did come across a gentleman named Greg. He had a mobile home, not a lot to it, an old beat up car in the driveway. And we did cut down a tree in his yard. But as I began to talk to Greg and share with him about why we were there and that we were working with local churches, Greg kind of was, I just got a sense that maybe Greg didn't have enough to eat. So I finally just asked him, I said, Greg, it was him and his 86-year-old mother. I said, Greg, do y'all have enough to eat? And he said, "Well, no, we're okay. We got some water, and we got some cookies in there." So I made a phone call to a church there in Greenwood, South Carolina, that was close, Emerald Baptist Church. I'll just let you know. And they were bringing us lunch. They were bringing my team. Actually, we had two crews going that day because we had so many guys. They were bringing lunch to two different locations for us and feeding our volunteers. And I said, "Hey, can y'all stop by this address and give several plates of food to Greg and his mother, because I don't think they have enough food." And they were grateful. The folks, I got a report back from the guy who delivered the meals to the house, and he said how thankful they were, and he's assured me that he's going to check back in with them in a few days in the coming weeks to be sure that they have enough to eat. Also, a lot of people hurting, a lot of people struggling right now. We did have one funny story. we had a we had a tree on a car. Okay, we had several of those, but one was, we got some stuff cut off of it, and we were going to try to see if we couldn't drive the car forward. Okay, to try to get, if we could lift up a little bit with the tractor, if we could lift up a little bit, we thought we might be able to get that car out from underneath this giant log. So we got the keys to the car from the homeowner. It was a single lady, a retired lady, and we cranked up the car, and there in front of the car was literally like 10 or 12 feet in front of the car was this enclosed like a sunroom, but it was all glass. Okay. And I know this sounds crazy, but all I could think of was that movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where they drove the friend's car, his dad's car, through the glass window. So there we are revving up the car. And I told Brantley, I'm like, "Are you sure this is a good idea? Because man, if you don't get on the brake quick enough, it's going to, bam, we're going right into that glass." But anyway, we were able to, with the chainsaws, we were able to get the tree off. We did not actually drive the car, but perhaps not our finest moment in terms of ideas. But we had a lot of good times. I will tell you one funny one funny thing that the team said. That, we were cutting down these giant oak trees, and it was just, I mean, they were massive. And we finished up one yard, and one of them come up to me and he said, "Patrick," he said, "you think you can find us a yard with like a dogwood or a crepe myrtle, or maybe a large bush that we could cut?" Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was a great trip. The hand of God was with us the whole time. We didn't have any injuries. I mean, I did come back with a pretty bad case of poison ivy because I left my Technu cleanser type stuff that I use to try to keep out the poison ivy away. But the Lord looked after us. We did some dangerous things, obviously. There's more relief that needs to be done. We weren't helped. Obviously, we were not able to help everybody. We were able to help a lot of folks, about 30 families, but we had to drive past a lot of other yards that needed help as well. So we'll see what the future holds, if we're able to put together another trip or not. I'm not sure at this point. We're heading into a very busy season for our ministry with all the retreats we've got coming up in October and November. But a lot of people that we need to say thanks to. The River Oaks Retreat Center, can't say enough great things about that place. It is a youth camp. In the summertime, they have about 350 kids every week that go there, and they opened up their doors to us. He's got a nice shop there, and so every evening we went in there and cleaned our chainsaws with the compressed air, took them apart, cleaned them and everything, so that we sharpened them so we'd be ready for the next day. Black Oak Equipment Rental in Sumter, South Carolina. And there was a whole string of churches that helped us. There was one church I want to mention. I think it's called Real Life Church in Austin, Texas. They actually supported our ministry financially, which allowed us to do a lot of this. And they were a big help. And so I really appreciate them. I neglected to put them on this list, but the local churches that we worked with, First Baptist Church of Sumter, great group of folks, great pastor there, great group of men in that church. They brought a whole crew with chainsaws to help this past weekend. Long Branch Baptist Church, I think that's in Belton, South Carolina. They fed us dinner one night. Really appreciate that. Jacola Baptist Church fed us several meals while we were there. They are in Honeypath, South Carolina. Beach Springs Church also fed us while we were there, and just supported our efforts there. Emerald Baptist Church in Greenwood. We spent at least one whole day in Greenwood, and Emerald Baptist Church fed us. So thankful for them as well. And then First Baptist Church of 96. They were also super helpful to us in providing us names and addresses and even some men to come help us work. So this was truly a kingdom effort where it took lots of different ministries and lots of different groups working together to make this thing happen. And I know also there's many of you that made donations, and I want you to know how much we appreciate that. It costs, fuel, if you can find it up there. Still a lot of gas stations there are starting to get it back, starting to get fuel back. Groceries. It was interesting going to the grocery stores, the ones that were open. No turkey, no ham, no milk, things like that. Bread was hard to come by too. But all of those things came together, and it was really an awesome trip. I had the men that came, the volunteers who came, they all just really enjoy helping people. Good group of guys, really sharp, top-notch group of men. Each evening, I led a manhood discussion there in the room where we had our meals at the retreat center. And we talked about being a godly man, being Christ-like and showing the love of Christ every night. And I think a lot of guys got some stuff out of that too. So our hearts are full, and we are the ones that receive a blessing. And we hope that we were a blessing to many people in the upper part of South Carolina. Thank you all for helping make that possible. We're going to do a slideshow with a lot of pictures. Grant, who's our marketing intern guy, he's a student at Anderson University. Grant's working on putting together a bunch of those pictures in a slideshow video type thing. But I just wanted to jump on here and give you a quick boots on the ground live report. I just got home yesterday evening. This is what I saw. Lots of trees down in lots of areas. Still a lot of people without electricity. They are starting to get the electricity back. I saw a lot of utility company folks there. Really appreciate all their hard work. And I know there's lots of other ministries and volunteer organizations and just individuals who are doing tremendous things for people in the community. It's really great to see neighbors looking after neighbors. Yesterday we helped an older couple. I think he was in his late 70s, and they had been married 58 years. And I asked them how long they had lived in their house and lived at that location. They said 58 years. They started with a mobile home, and then they built a house later. And we were able to clean up their yard. And he actually had some more stuff back in the back that we probably could have cut. But he was super thankful for us to be there. But he said, hey, rather than y'all worrying about that stuff in the back, can you go help my widowed neighbor who's right down the road here? She's got a giant tree down in her yard. Can you go help her? And so we did. We helped as many widows, elderly folks, single moms. That's predominantly what we helped. We didn't turn down other folks, but those seemed to be the places that the Lord led us. And those were the people that we were, so thankful to be able to help. Thank y'all for being a part of it. And thanks for watching Ironman Outdoors.